Hello, it's Melinda from Scrapbookingncraft. Welcome to the Great Australian Craft Show number 5. Cannot believe it's August already, or this one is being released in August 2020. Wow, where's the year gone? So today we're focusing on, I'm from Scrapbooking and Craft, and I make and manufacture chipboard, stencils and foam stamps. And we're going to concentrate on our chipboard today. So we're going to actually make these two cards, or a variation of these two cards. Every card I make is different. So we have similar chipboard pieces and we are going to make some of these. So the product that we're focusing on today to colour our chipboard, because all our chipboard comes raw. So it comes looking like this, straight out of the machine. And you need to colour it somehow to use it. You can colour it in so many different ways, acrylic paint, inks, paper. But today we're actually using texture paste. Rust Effect texture paste from Prima Marketing. Now I have a good friend called Jen from Hillbilly Scrapping, and I will, if I can, I will put her web address running across the screen. Let's see how good I can be with my editing software. But if you Google on Facebook or the website on internet, hillbillyscrapping.com is her website, and she stocks a lot of the products I use to alter my chipboard. Now I only stock chipboard, stencils and foam stamps on my website, as well as my daughter is selling some paper napkins as part of a business assignment for school. But all these other things I purchase from Jen because that's not my business. My business is to manufacture the chipboard. So if she doesn't have them in stock or you can't find them on her website, she is in the process of updating all her website designs. Just message her and tell her what you're after, and she'll either order it in if she doesn't have it. She does a lot of special orders for people because seriously, a small business here in Australia cannot stock everything, and that's why I don't stock any of these products, because there's just too many. And she is also in the process of getting everything uploaded on her website, and that again is a slow process. So I have got 3 colour lots here to show you, and we're going to use 2 of them today. So we'll start with the Rust Effects. So these are from Prima Marketing, and they are Rust Effects paste. So in each packet comes 3 jars, and I put them back into my boxes so I can show you the 3 colours. So you usually get a light, a medium and a dark in each of the 3 colours. So these are the 3 colours I used for the rust. And then I have used, let me remember which one I've used. This one, which is, I always can never find the name, Junkyard. So I've used the purple, the sort of burgundy and the blue on the Mermaid one. So they're the 2 we're going to use today. So you can see on the packaging what they look like. So this one's like a true rusty one. The difference between these and an acrylic paint is actually these have grit or sand embedded in the paint. So when you actually, if this was touchy-feely vision, you could actually feel the texture. Not sure whether you can hear that sort of scratching. So when this paint dries, it actually dries textured, and you can see it almost looks like these pieces are really rusty and been sitting out in the farm for ages. So this is the Rust Effect one that I'll be using, and then on the Mermaid I will be using Junkyard. I personally these rust colours don't do a lot for me. I love this Junkyard and I love the other one as well. And there is no reason why you can't mix and match from the 6 pots here in front of me. You don't always have to just use these 3 colours. If you buy both sets, you then have 6 colours to mix and match, which is really cool. We had someone using this aqua green with these 2 brown rusts, like a patina copper look, and that looked fantastic as well. So the first thing we're going to do is colour our chipboard pieces. So we're going to start with the rust ones first. So let me grab my pieces. I have just something down to protect my work surface. You will get a bit of paint on this work surface. You can work on a glass mat or a, I'm going to put Thinking of You on this one because I couldn't find a happy birthday. So you can work on a glass mat. You will get a bit of paint on the table surface. What else am I looking for? I don't think I'm looking for anything. I'll cut that down in a minute. Okay, so the first thing is to paint our chipboard pieces. And what I've done with this one is I've done 3 layers. So these 3 colours you layer up, and that's how you get this rusty effect. So I like to start with the darkest colour. You don't have to. But starting with the darkest colour, it gives you a more of a darker look. This happy here is just done in the gold. It's only got 1 colour on it. So you can use them as standalone colours, or you can do the rusty effect. So within the one pack of the 3 colours, you will get several different versions of the rust. Now, if I started with the gold, went to the middle colour, went to the dark colour, it'll have a slightly lighter look than this darker look. Clear as mud? Makes sense? Let's get started. So we'll pop that card there. So these are straight as you buy them off our website. They're raw chipboard. Sometimes you need to give them a coat of gesso to seal them before you put a medium on top of them or something else. This time we don't need to, so we can go straight in with these paints. And you have to forgive a bit of noise if there's a bit of scratching in the background. My daughter's bunnies live in the back corner of the room that I film in, and they've decided every time I film a video it's time to scratch and rip cardboard. It's supposed to be their snoozy time. I let them out for a run this morning to tire them out and thought they would snooze while I film, but well, that's life. Welcome to working at home. So I'm going to start with the darkest colour. So, okay, sorry, I was explaining about the paintbrushes and the bunnies disrupted me. So you want to use these sort of stiff brushes. You don't want to use like a watercolour brush. Using these will deteriorate and wreck your brushes. So the more crabby brushes you've got, the better. Because the sand and the grit gets into the bristles, they're really hard to actually wash out. So I've got 3 size brushes. You don't have to have 3 size brushes. I do like a smaller brush for the accent colours, and I just happen to pick these 3 brushes. So we're going to start with the first colour, and we are going to coat all these pieces. So we've got 3 pieces of chain to go in the background, cog to go in the background, and 2 cogs to go on the top. And we're going to do the thinking of you in a minute. So when you open the little jars, I like to keep this little bit of protector stuff on it. Now, I actually haven't used these for a while, so I may need to spray them. I do. I need to spray them with a little bit of water just to reactivate them. Now these, my little pots have sat idle for, unfortunately, 12 months because they sort of got lost in a box. They come home from a show and I sort of lost where they were. So we're just going to give them a squirt of water. A bit more water. What I might do is just open these ones up and have a bit of water. That one looks like it's good. Unfortunately, when any jar of liquid gets like this, when you've got about a quarter left, the air in the jar, even though it's sealed tight, will dry the product out. But these ones are great because they will reactivate. And the gold was always runny since day one, so it is still looking good. And that needs a little bit of water. So I'll just spray a bit of water in there while we wait for the others. So these are an acrylic based product, so if you do put them aside for a while and don't use them like me, you can easily activate them with a bit of water. So here we're going to, as you can see, I've got the paint out. We are doing like a dabbing motion. If you paint with the paintbrush like you normally would like this, you're moving the grits of sand around. You don't really want to do that. What you want the grits of sand to do is stick. So I'm doing an up and down stippling motion. Try not to stab myself with my huge paintbrush. So if you want paintbrushes for these, you just need to go raid your kids' paintbrushes. They're the best ones. Doesn't matter if we miss spots or don't get spots, we will get them on the next round. So that's what that's looking like. These paints dry really, really quickly too. So just dabbing up and down. And I apologise if the camera's shaking. I'm trying not to shake the camera. So as you can see, they get painted very, very quickly. They don't take long at all. A lot of scrapbooking products do have shelf lives. Obviously this one we can re-wet with water, which is fantastic. But some products, unfortunately, you can't. So it is good to use your products and not lose them like I did. They got mislabeled in a box. And put a little bit more water in there. And then we can use them sort of like a watercolour. I will put some water in here and let it sit before I use it on my next project. So it's a good idea with these ones, even to give them a squirt if they are drying out a little. Give them a bit of squirt with water after you've used them, and then they can sit and absorb that water before you use them again. These have also been sitting in a box near a hot window, which is not ideal to store your supplies in. But we're getting the same effect as if we didn't have to give them a squirt of water, which is fantastic. These little bottles will go a long way. I have taught a 3-day make and take class with these little bottles, and we have still got heaps left in some of them. Some of them are a bit low. Now what I suggest is you actually get 3 paintbrushes, because I may need to go use this one again. I don't really want to wash it. I am going to wash them between using these colours and these colours, just because I don't want to contaminate with the lighter colours. But I'm going to dry my brushes thoroughly for that. So I'm going to put that lid back on now. I'm going to give another squirt of water. New bottles, when you purchase them, you won't need to squirt with water. But it's nice to know how to also take care of your products as well. So I'll just give that a bit of a shake and set that one off to the side. So now we've got our first layer on. So we've done 100% of our chipboard space. So I'll move my card over here. So the next colour, I like to do about 50%. And this one looks like it is right to go. So this one is a bit thicker. Might just give it a bit of a, seems to be a lot more softer down the bottom. So let's just dig into it a bit. So this one I'm wanting to do, I'm trying to stay in a clean piece of paper so you can see it. You want to sort of randomly dot about 50% of your shape. Now, at the moment it's not looking too good. What you can do is you can actually bring this paintbrush in that I used with the brown and tone it down a bit if you accidentally put too many colours on. So see how I've toned that one down? So it's basically a matter of playing with these three colours until you've got your desired result of happiness. Now, if you want it to be more dark brown, put less of the reddy brown on. If you want it to be more reddy brown, we might do a bit more reddy brown on our chains so they stand out in the background. And what I like to do is when I'm doing these pieces, have my backing paper, what I'm going to use on the card, for example the black, nearby, because when I look at the pieces on here I really can't see what the end result is. So if I bring my backing paper in, which is just some thin paper, black paper, see how they stand out a lot more than sitting on here. So it's a good idea to have this messy sheet to actually colour them, but when you nearly got to the end of the colouring, pick them up and put them on your backing paper to see how they look. They might need more of the darker colour, they might need more of the lighter colour. So that's another tip as well. And because this has got a sandy grit in it, some of the grits do not stick and they will get all over your workspace. A bit like glitter. It goes everywhere. If you use glitter once, you will have glitter on every subsequent project. So just going back, I want a bit, there goes the paintbrush off the table, I want a bit more of the dark brown. To go over this one. So I'm just dabbing off onto the paper and then dabbing onto my project so I don't have a lot on the paintbrush. So now we bring in our third colour, which is our gold, and our smallest paintbrush. And this one just need cleaning around the top. It's a good idea to keep your rims and your threads of your jar clean of product, and then your lids don't stick on. So I'm just picking up some gold out of the pot with a bit of the water that I put in there previously. So here I'm just going to put probably about 3 to 4 little dots on. Again, I'm going to pick up the brown brush and just tone it down a little. I find the gold is a bit intense for me, so I tend to put a little bit on. Yeah, I'll put just straight gold on this one, and then I'll put a bit more gold on this one. I'll tone this one down and then I'll show you the difference on the black bit of paper. So as you see, I haven't toned this one down. Bring this bit of black paper back in. See what the difference is? See how it looks a whole lot nicer on this one? If you like this look, go for it. This project is all about your level of happiness. So everyone's in the class, if we're doing this in real time, not in COVID time, everyone's project would look slightly different because everyone's using a slightly different amount of each of the products. Just going to tone this one down a bit with red. Excuse me. Every time I go to film, I get coughing. Don't cough all day, and then I turn the camera on and I get the coughing fits. So we're just going to have a bit of a play with these three to see how they work together. So just, have I lost one? No? So at the moment, I'm finding this one's blending in a bit too much, needs a bit more gold. So I'm just sort of working out, having a bit of a play around. I need some more gold on this one, so we'll go and do that. So it's just a matter of, small paintbrush, matter of playing around. It's probably too much gold, so let's tone it back a bit. And we'll bring back in the first colour and tone it back a bit. So you can't make mistakes with this project. It's great for kids as well, because kids can just tap away at it. And I'm liking that one, liking that piece a lot better. So these ones are already dry, so they dry super quick, so you almost don't have to put a heat tool on them at all, which is really good. So I'm just going to put caps back on these. I'm just going to pause the video and go wash my paintbrushes so I can swap. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that yet. I nearly forgot about my word. I always forget the poor words. So I'm going to put thinking of you on this one. So this word comes in a full sheet. I forget how many you get on a sheet, but it's a bunch for usually $5, but they are on sale at the moment. Anything we use in classes, or as close as I can get to what we've used in the classes, some things I am a little low in stock of, will be available on the website in a special folder named, what's it named? The Greatest Australian Craft Show number 5. So I've got 2 folders up there at the moment. I've got Greatest Australian Craft Show number 4, which was last month's classes, and then I've got Greatest Australian Craft Show number 5, which is this month's classes. So I'm just cutting these off. These are Tim Holt scissors. Again, Hillbilly Scrapping sell these. So they are fantastic scissors for cutting chipboard. Any heavy-duty scissors, not your good fussy cutting scissors. So these ones I'm just going to do gold, just to make them stand out. So as I said, you can use these colours as one, like as just a colour, but I like to do the rusty effects. So I'm just going to go up and down till I get a good coating, and I do have to pick it up to see if I've got it all. I will put some close-up pictures of these cards at the end so you can see the texture. It's really, just notice there's a bit on the end I need to cut off, the connecting bits. Right, there's a bit on the top of the T, and there's a bit on the U. So it's easy to cut the little connecting bits off now as opposed to after you've painted them. So these ones, again, we're just going to dab up and down until we get the desired cover. If you find it's a bit patchy and you're still seeing some of the chipboard through, certainly go and do a second coat. But usually this paint, one coat is, the paint is quite opaque, which is not transparent. Just picking that up and putting that on the black card, as you can see, it's going to stand out, which is really nice. So as you can see, using barely any of the product, these little pots will last you quite a while, and loads of chipboard products. So you don't necessarily have to use these products on chipboard, you can use them on paper. I've used them, scraped them through a stencil, I've just scraped them on a page, which looks rather cool as well. So you can use them in so many different ways. Upside down, why does it always land wet side down? Now we're just going to have a final look at our pieces to see if we're happy with them. And I'm happy with the colours on those, so I'm just going to pause that video and go wash these brushes, clean up a little bit, and then I'll be back and we'll do our mermaid pieces. So I'm going to get all the messy stuff out of the way first, and then we are going to construct our cards. So I've just washed those paintbrushes, so I'm back to do the colouring on the mermaid. So this time I've decided to do a big mermaid. With a lot of our chipboard shapes, apart from words, you can actually choose whether they face left or face right. So on a card that opens this way, I like my mermaids facing to that's the right. Just, I don't know why, because it looks a bit funny when he's facing this way. So I tend to have things facing in towards the page, and because we're turning it this way, this is where your hand's going to go, and where it follows your eye. I know it's weird. So we've got 3, I know I'm weird. We've got 3 of our mermaid scale frames. Got a couple of little seashells, so as I said, it's going to be slightly different to this one, but in the same concept. And we've got our word hello. Let's just trim that down first. Okay, so I went and washed my paintbrushes. It's a good idea to wash the paintbrushes fairly well when you use them, because it's acrylic paint, so it will dry and wreck your paintbrushes. So you don't want them to be sopping wet, you want them to be damp. So we're going to start with, do I want more blue? I think I'll go more blue this time. So we're going to start with this colour. Obviously this one has sat on its side, so let's just peel that top bit off and give that a bit of a squirt. I should have checked these before I put the camera on. This one was obviously lying on its side. That's okay. I'm back, sorry about that. I just had to give this one a good old shake and a bit of a crush. As I said, my paints have sat for 12 months. Ideally, I wouldn't leave them sit for that period of time not being used. But they are coming back just with a bit of water and a bit of shaking, so that's really good. So we're going to cover all our pieces with this, apart from our hello, mermaid, stop flying away, with this colour. Now that I've actually found these again, I will be using them a lot more often. Any big chunks that come out, I'm just throwing back in, and when we squirt it with water, they will start to soften up again. So just coating 100% of the pieces with this first colour like we did last time. What I tend to do is if I've got 3 size brushes, I will grab the biggest brush for the main colour, and then I will do the smaller brush for the smaller colour and the medium brush obviously for the medium colour. Now these seashells and a lot of our shapes actually have drawn lines on them. Now you will still be able to see the drawn lines after you coat it with certain products. Some products totally obliterate it. So they're actually lines that are drawn into the chipboard as they're a cut line, but they're not actually cut all the way through. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit of grit from the paint. And we're going to do our mermaid as well. So as you can see, the paintbrush is getting quite sort of pushed out and sort of damaged in a way, not really damaged, but pushed out. That's why I would put aside a set of brushes for these particular paints. Because the grip does get in them and you don't want to use your best brushes. Okay. Just going to see, I was a bit light-handed on that one, so I'm just going to go over the top of it. Again, it's hard to see, so I would again bring your black or your backing paper in. We're going to put these ones on black again, just to make them pop. So we're finished with that colour, but I'm going to leave that brush sitting there in case I need some more to put back on. So we're going to do the blue next. So again, with the blue, we are going to just dab bits here and there, and then I'm going to tone it down with the other brush. You sort of want to tone it down when it's wet, so I'm going to grab the first brush again and tone down. Now I'm wanting to make these a bit more blue because they are mermaids and the ocean, so I am being a bit more heavy-handed with the blue this time than I usually would with the second colour, because that's the look I'm going for. So as I said, it's totally up to you with what colours you start with. You could just paint this blue if you wanted to. I want to see a bit of the brown coming through, which is really nice. Oops, I just stuck the wrong brush into the wrong pot, which I do all the time. And I want to make the mermaid quite blue on her tail and quite blue all over, actually. Love mermaids. Now I might have to go get some more brown out of that pot. I do, because I put this paintbrush in the blue. Oh, I like that mottledy effect. That's really cool. So again, just moving them over to the black, just to see what they're looking like. So I think I'm liking those. So as you can see on that mermaid, it's nearly dry. So we'll work on the other pieces first, and we're going to put a little bit of this purple on. So again, just going to dot a little bit, and then I'm going to come back in with the blue brush, but I want to almost have no paint on my brush, so I can just sort of blend it in a little. And we blended in a bit too much, so we'll just go back and put some dots back on. Trying to hold it and do it is fun because I get paint all over my fingers. See how that one's got highlights and that one doesn't, so you can definitely tell which ones you've done. It's a bit hard to see with the camera all the way zoomed out. I did again. Blue brush goes in the purple. I don't know. Because if you just left it like that, yes, some people were doing that in the class and that's totally up to them, but I do like to blend it down a little. And as I said, you don't really need any blue on the brush to blend it down. The residue that's there, well, they're looking nice, is enough to blend it down. Because this is a small shape, I'm only going to do a couple of dots of the purple. They are looking beautiful. And we'll do, Nelly went to do it again. I want these ones to be a bit lighter, so I'm going to basically go a bit more heavy-handed with the mauve over the top. See what they're looking like. They are looking beautiful. Now let's get our mermaid. Our mermaid is all dry now. So let's go a bit on her. And I might get a bit more blue on the blue paintbrush because she's not looking as blue as I'd like her. But I will dab off onto my page because I want her quite blue. Dabbing off some of the paint will actually give you less paint on your brush and not so dark. So a little bit of purple in here, and then I'm going to come back in with the blue. Actually, I think I might not have to come back in with the blue. Let's see what it looks like. A little bit of her head needs doing. I missed the top of her head. And the tip of her tail where I was holding. So you can certainly with these, oh, and a bit of her hair hasn't been done either. Let's give it some highlights of her hair. So you can sort of shade with these paints as well, which is sort of what I'm doing with her hair. I'm giving it a bit more of a lighter look. Actually, I'm liking that look, and they are looking a bit different to the other card that we have done. They're not as chunky. I'm being a little more light-handed, so we can go over and put a bit more chunkiness on. I've done it again, the blue. Oh, now I'm mucking up my blue and pink paintbrushes, but that's okay. You can't contaminate your jars, so that's good. Actually, I like that now. So you can go over as many times as you want to get your desired result. So it's just a matter of playing. Playing is half the fun. Knowing when to stop is fun. Add a bit more blue on these little seashells, especially down the bottom. Just got to be a little careful how much water you do add to chipboard because it is cardboard, but drying it in between does actually give you the ability to add a bit more on. Just having a closer look at those, and they are looking brilliantly. Now it's time to clean up again and get our cards happening. Whoops, I just knocked my other shapes off. So I'm just going to go quickly tidy up, and then I will come back and we'll put our cards together. So I've left these to dry for some time. Had to attend to the children, or the child. So this one I forgot to paint on camera, so I just put some purple on it. So we are going to start with our steampunk one. So I've just got a card front. It's an A4 sheet of watercolor paper cut in half and then folded, so it's your normal whatever size that is. A6, I think. A3, no, not A3, A6. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is, this is the paper. It's black paper that I use in my packaging. So I'm going to tear a piece as the background, because I find when we stick these on here, they sort of look a bit lost, but once you stick the black under them, really makes them pop. And it gives it another layer. So when you're tearing paper, if you've not torn paper before, if you hold the paper in your left hand and tear with your right hand, you'll get a little bit of a torn edge. This paper tears grey in the middle. Some papers tear white if they're a printed paper or a cardstock. So it just depends. If you want all your torn pieces in the same way, just remember to tear it all in the same way, because then we'll get tear marks all around the edge. See, this one, the tear marks are on the back, so I'm just going to gently re-tear that. So it depends. I like the look of a bit of the grey. Just depends on... Oh, that's becoming really, really hard to tear, because I'm trying to tear a little bit off. It's easy to tear a bit bigger bit off than a little bit off. It's got a bin off to the side. I'm throwing all my bits in. So now I'm just going to have a play with the placement. So I'm going to have that sort of in the middle. You can cut an exact rectangle if you don't like it, the torn look. I personally like the torn look because I can't cut a piece of paper straight to save me life. So I also like the torn look because you can have your pieces of chipboard dangling up and down. So what we're going to do is just place the 3 pieces of chain there, and then one of these goes underneath. The chain needs to be a bit closer together. Pop it up there because then our second layer of chipboard sort of sits on top. And then we've got to fit our thinking of you in. So I think I want the thinking of you on the black. So I think I'm going to drop all this down, and you can play around with your placement as much as you like of you. I want that cog to come down. So always before I stick anything down, whether it's art journaling, whether it's card making, whether it's scrapbooking, I always have a play around with my pieces beforehand until I like my positioning. I will often snap a photo of that. Sorry, it's a bit crooked. I'll often snap a photo of that if it's complicated and if it's a lot of pieces to remember where the pieces go. But I think I can generally remember where the pieces are going to go. So I'm going to stick my piece of black paper down first, just with some double-sided tape. This is a bit wide, but I'm trying to use up some older double-sided tape before I open my new packets. So this is probably a bit of an overkill for the tape, but that's okay. You could also use a glue stick for this as well. I just use double-sided tape because that's what I've got on my desk. So where did we have this positioned? We had that positioned about central like that. I've got bits of grit all over my desk from the paint. So now I want to put these bits of chain back and put my pieces back on how they were, and then slowly stick one by one. So I definitely want my thinking of you up there, and I definitely want it on the black because I think it stands out a whole lot more on the black. And then this cog was underneath, and this cog was on top, and this cog was over here somewhere. That needs to move over there. So what I'm going to do is, because I want the position of the thinking of you to be the main position, I'm going to stick that first. When gluing chipboard, you do need a rather heavy-duty glue. This is Helmar 450, and this is a fantastic glue. Hillbilly Scrapping sells this as well. If I can get the lid open, so it usually just I've got some glue stuck where I don't want glue. Glue bugger. It's not terrible. Get off my finger. Okay. So this one's just got a twist up cap. I like this glue because it's like a gel. This is about half full, so you just have to give it a minute to the gel to go from the top to the bottom. As you can see, it's not fast moving. It's sort of blobbing. The reason I like the gel is A, it's super strong. It sticks everything. I use it for chipboard, buttons, beads, anything that's dimensional, and I also sometimes use it for cardstock. I'm just waiting for it to move down into the tip and then just give it a slight squeeze. So on this particular bit of chipboard, I just put a few little dots. You don't need to coat the entire lot of chipboard with the glue. What I tend to do is pick out the fattest bits. So I'll go either side of the O and a bit on the F. This dries clear, so if you do get a bit peeking out from under the chipboard, it's no big deal. The reason I like this glue is because it's a gel, it doesn't gush out from your piece of chipboard when you stick them down. So I'm just sort of tracing over the words. Doesn't have to get it everywhere, but the fattest bits I try to aim for. And apologise if my head's getting in the way while I'm trying to line this up. A lot of my regulars would understand I have low vision, so sometimes I have to lean over to lean over to see what I'm doing. Now we're going to glue this one on first, and what I'm going to do is just put a little bit down the middle of the chain and a little bit on the edge. So this one went, oh, now I've got it stuck to my finger. So this one went about here. This is quick drying as well, so it only takes about 30 seconds to a minute to dry, but you do have that little bit of wiggle room if you're wanting to move the piece. Just try not to get big blobs. Anyway, so if you're trying to move the piece a little into a perfect position, you've got that little bit of wiggle room, so that's why this glue is great. And I have not had anything fall off with this glue, and we have had canvases and decorated paintbrushes and things thrown in our boxes, carted around to different shows, and they all seem to be stuck on when we get there. So this one I'm just going to get rid of the strings that are in the middle. This gets on your hands. You can sort of wipe it off by rubbing your hands together, and it will sort of bead up into a blob and come off. Now when we go to stick these ones on, I'm just deciding whether I think I'm going to cover up that, or do I move it up there? Actually, I like that bit of chain missing. So to stick these on, you're going to only really put glue where the two bits are touching, but I really can't tell where that is, so I'm sort of going to glue half the circle. You put this glue on where you don't need it. Obviously, if I try to put glue here, I really don't know what's going to touch. So I'm just going to put that here. And when you're layering chipboard like this, you've got to make sure you've got 2 points of contact. So I've got the cog here sitting on top of the chain and sitting over here on top of the other cog. So it's got 2 points of contact. Actually, it's got 3. So it's got one on the chain and 2 of the cog, and that'll make it nice and secure. If you only have 1 point of contact, your chipboard will be sort of floating in midair. If you don't have something to put under it, you can just use a scrap of chipboard to or a piece of foam mount, like a foam mounting square, just to give it another point of contact. There we go. Let's have a look at our original. I knew it would turn out different, but even using the same concept and the same materials, you can make a totally different card. There'll be close-ups of all of these at the end. These ones are a bit more gritty. These ones don't have so much grit on them, so it just depends on how many layers. This one I layered up several times with the paint. This one I didn't, so it just depends on what sort of look you're going for. So these paints are great to get several different looks out of. So I've got enough of this piece of paper here. Bring in my second card. So we're going to do the Mermaid. So this one I want the black going almost all over the card, but just a little bit in. So we are going to see if we can do that. So let's start by tearing a little bit off the top. You can always tear a little bit more off, but you can't stick it back. And tearing paper, you'll find it's easier and straighter to tear one particular way because the paper has sort of a grain. So I'm sort of coming down here. I want to start tearing about here. So again, if I'm wanting that tear line on all my 4 sides, I am tearing in the one direction. And I need about here. So I'm holding it with my left hand, tearing down with my, whoops, it's a big hairy bit, isn't it? I don't like that. Let's get rid of that. So now we should have a nice piece of paper to go on our card. Again, we're going to play around with placement. So for this one, we have this big mermaid scale, and then we have the medium mermaid scale, and we have the small mermaid scale in the background. And we're going to pop our hello in there, and that pops so nicely on that colour. We are going to have our mermaid sitting here, and our mermaid is going to sit... Oh, this bit of paper gets moving. Stop moving, bit of paper. This mermaid is going to sit here, sort of cover up this area here. paper, stop moving. And this is a problem with, one of the problems with trying to position all your pieces before you put them on. And then we've got two little, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one in the background and one up the top, so it gives it a bit more dimension as well. So this is a very dimensional card. It's got like 2 layers of chipboard. All our chipboard is 1.8 millimeters in size, so this is quite dimensional to send through the mail. So these are great cards to hand deliver to people. So I love that effect. It's a lot more subtle, but I also like that effect as well. So I wanted to show you the different ones, and I didn't want to make the card exactly the same because I wanted to show you that you can get so many different looks from the one pots or the three pots of paint that come in a set. If I did several more layers on these mermaids, I'd get them as chunky as the other ones, but I decided I just wanted to do one layer to show you. You can build up this paint as much as you like. Chipboard going everywhere. So again, just positioning that in the middle with the double-sided tape. Oh, we've got sirens happening outside. That's a bit exciting. Hopefully it's nothing serious with the sirens. There we go. I think I like that positioning, so I'm going to stick the hello in first. And I've just got a blob of glue. Just need to grab a scrap bit of paper to wipe my fingers on, because that glue, sometimes the only thing I don't like about this glue is sometimes it will keep volcanoing, what I call volcanoing out the top, so it will keep sort of spilling out the top. So it's a good idea to twist that top down when you're not using it. I've just got to wait for the glue to come down the end of the bottle again. So that hello is sort of going to go off center. I'm going to do this big mermaid scale. Whoops. This hello actually comes from a set with hello friend on it, but on this particular occasion I just used the hello part of the word. I cut the word friend off it. And again, it comes in a pack, I think of 6 or 7 sets of hello friend. It will be on the website under Great Australian Craft Show number 5 with all the products I've used for the 4 classes. If you have trouble finding anything or anything has sold out, just send me a message or an email and I can let you know if I can produce more of the product or when the raw materials are coming back in so I can produce more of the product. Having a bit of issues at the moment getting some of our raw materials, like everything during this interesting time we're having in 2020. So again, I'm just going to put glue all over the mermaid because I don't actually know which bits are going to connect, but you don't see any of this glue that is, just going to do her hair. You don't see any of that glue that is not connecting to pieces. So I'm just wanting to, and I should have stuck this, I'm going to take that shell off for just a second. I'm just not wanting to cover up that hello, but I'm wanting to cover up the sort of the, so I'm not wanting to cover up the hello, but I'm wanting to cover up the sort of 3 pieces that meet here. So it's a bit of a balancing act, getting her in the right spot and pressing down the shell again, which I just slightly moved over. So you can, if you get to this stage and you don't like the colourings, you can certainly go back over the top of it, which I might do with a bit of the purple just to bring in a few highlights. I'm just going to grab a little bit with my finger. Just put a little bit of highlight. When you're doing this, you just got to be a little bit careful because you are doing it on your completed card. that you don't drop any on that black. So I'm just adding a few sort of bits of highlight. It's sort of looking a little dark to me. I could sit and fiddle all day. So I'm barely getting any on my finger and barely touching the chipboard piece, just to give it a bit of a highlight. And again, if you do too much, just come back in with another colour, or like me, I'm just taking another finger and just tapping it off, but I do like that. So this one has turned out more blue, and the previous one, apologise, I'm crooked again. See if I can fix that in my photo editing. I get carried away and forget to look up to where the camera is. So thank you very much for coming and watching my videos today for my card making. I must admit, card making is not my forte, but I am learning. My friends all tell me I'm card makers, but I struggle a bit. Just fixing up a bit of that glue. That will dry clear. If you do have a few glue strings like I've got here, just take your heat tool or a hairdryer and run it across the board, and it will take those glue strings away, which I will do in just a minute. So thank you very much for coming along on my quick and easy cards with the chipboard. Even kids can do this. This is fun. And as you can see, you can use exactly the same chipboard or similar chipboard and get different looks. Every time you paint a piece of chipboard with this texture paste, you'll get a slightly different look, which is really cool. So thank you very much for watching. If you do want any of these products, pop over to my website, Scrapbookingncraft, and you can find the chipboard pieces I've used. And if you want any of the texture pastes or this lovely 450 glue, which is just volcanoing again, so I'm just going to clean that up and put the tip down. If you want any of that, hop over to hillbillyscrapping.com, and you can find both of us on Facebook as well. And hopefully in 2021, we can bring you some real-time classes right across Victoria, which will be fantastic. Bye for now.